Today is Tuesday, March 28. I'm Pastor Anthony, and this is Wilderness Wanderings. Today our text comes from Deuteronomy 5. It's the seventh covenant word from verse 18, which says, "You shall not commit adultery." These 5 words are ground zero of the culture war over human sexuality in the CRC. Synod's decision to make a list of sins confessional was attached to it via the Heidelberg Catechism's use of the word unchastity to describe what this word prohibits. We're not going to dwell much on that today, because the questions that really animate the culture war conversation are mostly to do with same-sex marriage, which is neither the main point of this seventh covenant word, nor relevant to most of the intimate relationships in which you, the readers and listeners, are involved. Statistics continue to suggest that the community of those who are same-sex attracted remains a very small minority of the population. It's not to say that this conversation has no place. It does. And if it impacts you, I or we as pastors are happy to talk further. But it is a specialist place of pastoral concern for a very few, not the main topic of concern for the whole church, nor for the seventh word of the covenant. Anyway, all this to say, I must admit that the seventh of the covenant words evokes a certain sorrow and weariness in my soul. It's consumed more of my time and attention. It's created more division and heartache, and become the context for the disillusionment and loss of more faith, hope, and love, and even membership across our church in this past year than I care to name. But it doesn't have to be that way. Keeping the main thing in each thing is an important corrective. And the main thing the seventh word is concerned with, similarly to the whole of these 10 words, is relational fidelity. In this case, within a marriage. Being married has not gotten easier over these past years. The impact of COVID isolation and COVID's intensification that brought us into spending more time with certain family members at home has placed a lot of stress on marriage, as it has on all relationships. The ramping up of digital immersion has taken its toll as well. We are more restless and distracted and find less capacity to meaningfully engage with the person in front of us. Not only that, but the ease of access to things like pornography and other social contagions like the sort that breed polarization or culture war, along with the corresponding ease of bypassing accountability that's been enabled by our personal screens, each of these has placed depersonalizing and alienating enemies within our gates. Marriage has not gotten easier, and it continues to require of us good communication and good commitment that gives space for the journey of sanctification that marriage demands of us, turning us continually away from vice and ugly character traits toward the deeper virtues of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. It is not easy, and has not become easier. But the good news is that this is still a work that the Spirit desires to accomplish within us. And marriage remains one of the key tools in our lives by which He does it. A faithful marriage starts to smell like Jesus after a lifetime of partnering with God and one another through healthy fights, life-changing experiences walked together, and much confession and forgiveness necessarily offered. We cannot do this work without God, but we also can't do it without a community of support. As God's people, it is important to continue to offer ourselves to support one another in our marriages, asking one another how we're doing in our marriages, and encouraging one another in this difficult but good commitment. And as God's people, we would also do well to speak a good and encouraging word about marriage to those growing up behind us, too. Divorce rates are down significantly from where they were a few decades ago, but so are marriage rates, and that might be part of the reason why. So many burdens weigh so much more heavily on the upcoming generation than they did on the previous ones. Economic burdens that make it difficult to get a house, for instance. Educational burdens that demand more education, again, with more costs. Technological burdens, relational burdens, etc. It's easy to be cynical for our young people, to be cynical about the future, to be cynical about marriage, even to be cynical about singleness, which stretches on much longer on average than it used to. The average age of marriage for men and women, I think, is now in the 30s. The church, though, can be a place of supportive relationship, where the upcoming generation can find good conversation partners and encouraging words about the possibilities for healthy relationships and even the commitment of marriage. So, bottom line, how, in response to this covenant word, how might you support the relational flourishing of the people in your life and in our church today, whether they're married or single? How can you support relational fidelity? And as you journey on, go with God's blessing. May the peace of the Lord Christ go with you, wherever He may send you, and may He guide you through the wilderness and protect you through the storm. May He bring you home rejoicing at the wonders He has shown you, and may He bring you home rejoicing once again into our doors.